Before I get to the bike that I'm looking at in this video, I want you to give me just a moment of your time. And stick with me, because believe me, this isn't the average e-bike, and this one has plenty of surprises. Also, it's worth mentioning that you know I don't accept paid reviews. I don't allow scripting or any control over my review process or really even special requests. As a matter of fact, I really don't speak to bike companies much between receiving a review bike and publishing my review. This time, however, EUNORAU contacted me. They wanted to send another bike, and that was before I'd even published the review on their last bike. This one had a request attached, and that was I review it before Christmas. But, this is close to Christmas, so I'm thinking maybe they're hoping that people will do those kind of presents where you open a box and there's a picture of something inside that's on the way. But that was Monday afternoon. Late Wednesday evening, the bike arrived. Now, I didn't even know what bike I was getting, but after opening it, I'm willing to bet that many of you are going to have the same reactions I had, the same gamut of emotions. At first, antipathy, followed by intrigue, eventually culminating in surprise and joy. So let's jump right in with the antipathy phase, because it looks like the design influence for this bike may have been a praying mantis. That or an engineer designed it with little concern for aesthetics. A funny thing though, regular viewers are going to know that I have a weakness for odd-looking bikes, so it didn't take long for this look, this elongated pill on wheels, to make me curious. But can that curiosity overcome things like a folding bike headset on a non-folding bike? Well, it turns out that has a reason, and there are many things about this bike that have reasons and also a lot of features. So I'm going to go over them component by component, and stick with me because I promise you it's worth the look. Right away, I noticed the leather-like stitched comfort grips, interesting considering the price of this bike, which I'll get to, but other bikes, even from EUNORAU, that cost almost twice as much, have rubber grips. So I appreciate the comfortable leather-like feel. There's a 1/2 grip on the right to accommodate the twist throttle. I love a twist throttle on an e-bike, so this is right up my alley. Below the twist throttle, a red button, and this is usually a horn, but this one, not a horn. Now comment below if you think you know what this is, and don't cheat, be honest, and we'll find out in a minute. Like many sub $1,000 e-bikes, the shifter is a Shimano Mickey Mouse shifter. I actually use this one, and as you can see, this is a 6-speed bike. Beside that, a bell, which is nice for politely clearing people out of the way. The computer, I have no idea what model this is, but it's a no-frills LCD computer, and it doesn't flicker in person, so note that. But I would like to know what this says in Chinese, if anyone can translate. Its one downside is it displays kilometers per hour only, so I don't like that part, but the function is straightforward and basic. It cycles through the 3-pedal assist modes, and there's a 0 at the bottom. That's a trip meter, which resets to 0 on power cycle. A long press of the function button switches it to odometer. When on, pressing the power button again turns on the bike's lights. But I found out that even when the computer's off, if you quickly press it, it'll turn the running lights on while pressed. How about some Morse code? And these running lights, they're brighter in person, which makes them cool, but the headlight actually usable at night and plenty visible during daytime. Before we look at the tail light, I want to mention that in my previous EUNORAU bike reviews, I mentioned they had a lack of a power cutoff switch on the brakes. Yet, on this bike, costing less than the others, check it out, power cutoffs. We'll come back to those, but first the tail light. These don't flash in person, and the rear has running lights just like the front, but in red. But turn on the headlights and it activates the center tail light. But squeeze the brake lever and bam! Brake lights. This is the first bike I've ridden that has integrated factory brake lights, and I'm super impressed. Back to the levers, because I'm sure the brakes are activated by the power cutoff, but they're not the reason for the power cutoff. The real reason, hiding in plain sight, and if you haven't figured it out yet, don't worry, we're getting closer. 600 millimeters for the width of the bars, which is slightly wider than most folding e-bikes, and the beanstalk, it has a curve to it, which makes it look even more odd. Dual safeties on the folding mechanism, which allows the bars to lay over onto the side, which didn't make sense until I had it next to a folding e-bike, and with the seat down or removed entirely like this case, it actually takes up less room than a folding e-bike. And that's because it's low and skinny, and as someone pointed out, it could be hid under a table at their work or slid behind their couch at their apartment. The fork, like the frame and most of the bike's components, alloy, and it sweeps forward, and the two arms are two thin blades. And the front wheel, it features a quick release, the hub's Modus. Wheels, 20-inch double-wall alloy rims with Kenda contact 20 by 1.95 street tires. Both wheels are wrapped with fenders, aluminum, front and rear. And fortunately, they're factory installed, which saves me from making donations to the swear jar. Folding handlebars, but no folding pedals. These are plastic flats, lightweight, and we'll see how they hold up. The alloy crank arms are 170 millimeters, and the entire crankset's pro wheel with a single 44-tooth chainring. And sandwiched in there is a magnet disc cadence sensor. To go along with this unique frame style, how about this? An elevated bottom bracket. It's on top of this bottom pill frame bit looking thing. The rest of the drivetrain components, Shimano, like this Torney TZ derailleur, 6-speed, and it has a red jockey wheel, and that kind of matches the frame on this red Z1. The 6-speed freewheel, a Shimano 14 to 28 tooth. And the rear hub motor, 36 volt, 250 watt, but don't balk just yet. It is tiny, but it does perform better than I expected, as you'll see. It gets its power from this, a very interesting looking battery box, and the battery itself, it's the white part. The black housing is where the speed controller resides, and the battery itself, 36 volt, 6.6 amp hour, which makes it the lowest I've seen in an e-bike. I'm curious what the range is going to be. EUNORAU's website says 20 miles. On the bottom of the battery, there's a USB port, a charge port, and a button to illuminate the onboard charge indicator lights. There's also a keyed lock, but initially I couldn't find anything that it does, but more on that coming. All these surprises, they're going to start stacking up. Behind the battery and coming off the seat tube are supports leading to the rear rack, which on this bike was blessed by UPS with contours. But even bent, it feels sturdy, though I don't know the weight limit. But speaking of UPS, I'm amazed that everything made it with this bike. It was well packed, but UPS left it with rips and holes on both sides and even on the top. But at least the rear reflector's protective film made it through. Below the reflector, a tag mount. Let's talk about the frame, this elongated pill-style frame, which is 60-61 aluminum, and it's made up of a long top tube and a smaller lower section with everything else just sort of sandwiched in between. The Z1 comes in 3 colors, red, black, and white, and of course this is the red, and the finish looks great, and this sticker, it's really the only decal. There are also matte black accents on the head tube area, the seat tube and its base, and the ends of the chainstays. There's not much to maintenance on the frame, but for both lights there's access to replace bulbs and to get to the wiring. There's more, but some of it has to be seen in action to be appreciated, but admit it at this point because you've made it this far and you've probably moved into the intrigue stage, or at least for many of you, more so than you would have initially thought. And as I get to the riding, I want to say that even for an adult with 3 layers of clothing on, this doesn't look any more or less odd than riding a folding bike. One major difference though, this is the lightest e-bike I've encountered. It only weighs 44.4 pounds, and that makes it a breeze to move around and even pedal around, even without power. Meaning it can be ridden with no assist, where it's no more or less harder to propel than a 40-pound big box bike. But with power, it gets up to speed pretty quick and quietly. With the bike being so light, having an aluminum fork and small wheels, I expected the ride to be rough and twitchy, but to an almost unbelievable level, that's not the case. Now it is very responsive. It does have 20-inch wheels, but it's stable enough that I can weave it around one-handed even with assist, turning on and off, and even in gravel. Top speed is rated at 18, but I get 15 on flat ground, and at 15 the pedal cadence is practically perfect, meaning it doesn't run out of pedal. Now that's at 15. Downhill I can run it out of pedal, but this isn't for speed, it's a city bike. How about on the e-bike? Tester hill, 36 volt, 250 watts, no problem. In third gear I can effortlessly pedal up at around 7 miles per hour. Red button reveal time plus this. How about cruise control? Hold the throttle for a few seconds and it activates the bike's built-in cruise control, which at first I thought was the throttle hanging, but then I realized it's actually designed with cruise. And another reveal, because that's the reason for the power shutoff switches on the brake levers to turn off the cruise. And now the red button, it's not a defective horn, it disables the throttle, which after having it, I would like to see on every throttle-equipped bike. So yeah, cruise control, which fits a city bike perfectly if you think about it. Point A to B bike lane commuting made easier. So you see why I'm so impressed, because this is not bad at all, and this look has grown on me, and others haven't ridiculed it. Some have called it cute. Now, it's not for everyone or for every situation, but it's definitely a viable city bike. I tested it everywhere I could think. I checked it on the bike racks on campus where it fit perfectly, and it's light enough that if I lived in a downtown apartment upstairs, it would be easy to carry up, and it would help avoid downtown parking fees. And of course, with that cruise control, as I've already mentioned, effortless commuting. One note, this was a quicker than normal turnaround on the review, so it's more a first look review. Everything you've seen was directly out of the box, including the battery charge. I never charged it. Had 3 riding bars when I started out, and that got me 13 miles. Earlier today, it gave it its first full charge, and that was from a drained battery, and it took 3 hours and 20 minutes. As you've seen, there are some components on this bike you don't see on bikes that cost more, so how much was this? Well, it's $6.99 on the EUNORAU site, but I see they have a 12% off coupon that goes through Christmas Day, possibly why they wanted this video out so fast. That gets the bike barely over $600, and to me, that's appealing considering the features. Brake lights, cruise control, and it's not a lead brick. And how about one more surprise? That keyed battery lock. That allows the battery to be removed so it can be used as a power bank. It just keeps getting better, and there may even be features that I just haven't found yet. I'll keep looking, and I'll do a follow-up video and even more testing to find out what the full range is. One final observation is that earlier I said this could have been an engineer-designed bike when they're worried about function more than aesthetic, and I think that's exactly what this is, because from a ride perspective, the geometry, it's very rider-friendly. Like it was built around that rather than looks, though I do like these looks. It may be an ugly duckling to some, but I see the swan. I really do like 99.9% of this bike. Really, my only dislike, the kilometers per hour. Prefer miles per hour, but everything else being so impressive, I could live with that. So what do you think about not only the features, but the look? And do you like the look? Like I do, and also being honest, were you more impressed at the end than you were at the beginning? I hope so, and I think you probably are, but comment and let me know. And also give this video a thumbs up if you found it informative, and subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you've got that notification bell active. It's the only way to get notified when there are new videos. Thanks for watching KevCentral, and have a great day.